Actually, you are back to our business economics and managerial economics class. Are you good? We are beginning with demand and supply analysis. Are you okay? So we have demand here. We also have supply at this side. So with the demand, this refers to various goods and services consumers are willing to buy at a prevailing price during a given period of time. Are you good? Actually, what demand tries to talk about is that you, the consumer, the things you want to buy, are you good, at a given price during a given period of time. That's all about demand. We also have determinants of demand. It's the same as factors that affect demand. Are you good? We have income, which is represented by capital I or an M. We also have price of related goods, which is represented or denoted by what? P with a subscript Y. We also have taste and preference with a capital T and a small p. We also have advertising or advertisement denoted by the letter A. We also have consumer expectations. We also have population, which is what? The number of consumers. Okay, let's come back to the income, which is one main factor of what? Determinant of demand. Okay, with the income, we have, or should I say the income can be grouped into two parts. We have a normal good, we also have inferior good, high good. With the normal good, as income increases, quantity demanded of that same good of that or that good also what increases. That's for what? The normal good and the income. Then with the inferior good, as income increases, quantity demanded of that particular good decreases. High good. So actually that's all about the income. So I would say with the income we have a normal good. We also have inferior good. Are you okay? So with the normal good, as income increases, quantity demanded of that good also what increases. Then with the inferior good, as income increases, quantity demanded of that good decreases. Are you okay? With normal good, it has a positive correlation. Normal good has a positive relationship. You have a positive relationship between income and quantity demanded of that good. Are you? That's for the normal good. As income increases, quantity demanded of that good also what increases. Therefore, income, which is the normal good, has what? A positive relationship between income and quantity demanded of that good. Then we also have inferior good. It's also under the income. Inferior good. With the inferior good, as income increases, quantity demanded of that good decreases. Are you okay? This is for the inferior good. Therefore, the inferior good has what? A negative relationship between income and quantity demanded of that good. They have a negative relationship. Okay, so actually we are done with the income. Are you good? So under income we have inferior good, we also have normal good. So let's move on to the price of related goods. Okay, with the price of related goods is denoted by what? PY. Are you good? Under this we also have substitute. We have substitute. We also have what? Complementary goods. Okay, so someone might ask that, okay, what's then is a substitute, or why do we say a good is a substitute? Okay, with a substitute, or should I say substitute goods are goods that are used interchangeably. Are you good? For instance, let's take an example. Someone might prefer to use carnation milk. Are you good? Someone might also prefer to use ideal milk. They all serve what? The same purposes. Are you okay? They also have complementary goods. The complementary goods are goods that are used together. Are you good? Complementary goods the same as joint demand. Are you okay? So in the complementary goods, you can say shoe and socks. Someone might argue that it's not always that we wear socks, but most often it's shoe and socks. We also have trousers. So let me write it. Shoe and socks. We also have trousers and t-shirt. Are you good? So all I want to say is that with a substitute, goods that are used interchangeably. Are you okay? So you have the chocolate, you have the normal, or there is a chocomilo or something. Then with the complementary goods that serve the same purpose. It's also known as what? The joint demand. So that one we have shoe and what? Socks. We also have what? Trousers and t-shirt. Are you good? So we are done with the price of related goods. Okay, actually with taste and preference being a determinant of demand or a factor affecting demand is that with taste and preference, since demand itself is saying that it refers to the various goods and services consumers are willing to buy at a prevailing price during a given period of time. Then I will therefore say that with taste and preference, it talks about the consumers having like for a particular product. As in, say, maybe I like this product or I prefer this product. You would say they have taste and preference for that particular product. I do. Someone might prefer ideal milk, someone might also prefer carnation milk. It all depends on the taste and preference they have for that particular good. Are you okay? Yeah. So we have income, price of related goods, taste and preference, advertising, consumer expectation, population, which is the same as number of consumers. I hope you guys are good with the demand side, the supply good. I'm making it so easy and simple for you guys. This is the demand, this is the supply. So with the supply side, this refers to various goods and services producers or sellers. Producer is the same as what? A seller are willing to sell at a prevailing price during a given period of time. We also have determinants of supply, which is the same as what? Factors affecting supply. We have input prices, example wages, which is denoted by what? A capital P and a subscript W. We also have level of technology, which is denoted by what? A capital T and a subscript X. We also have taxes. We also have population, which is number of producers. We have producer expectations. Unlike the demand, where we have what? Consumer expectations. With the supply, we have what? Producers of expectations. So with the input prices, example of it is the wages, which is denoted by what? A capital P and a small W. Level of technology. Okay, with supply, since one particular person is producing or selling a particular good to a group of people, in order for the person to enhance the goods and services the person is trying to sell, the person needs to increase what? The technology. Let's say for instance, when the person was selling a particular good, let's say Coca-Cola, the person was using labor intensive method, which means the person was trying to use a number of people. Let's say he was using 5 people to produce that particular Coca-Cola. During that period, he was producing or he was getting an outcome of, let's say, 15 cedis. But when he increased the product by involving in what? Technology, the product jumped into what? Let's say 50 cedis at what? An outcome. Therefore, I would say level of technology is one major factor affecting supply. Since technology is able to increase the product and services, one is selling at what? A particular price during a given period of time. So actually we are done with the supply side. So we just continue. Okay, so another part of the demand. We have demand has a negative relationship between quantity demand and price. Are you okay? We also have change in demand. Change in demand is the shift in the demand curve, either to the left or right. Are you okay? So this is the diagram for the change in demand. As you can see, there's it. Are you okay? This is the quantity side. Or is the vertical side is your price, the horizontal side is your quantity. Are you okay? This is the actual demand curve. Are you good? And you are saying either what? Shift of the demand curve, either to what? The left or to the right. So this is the left. If it's moving to the left side, it's what? Decrease in demand. But if it's moving to what? The right side, it's what? Increase in demand. Are you okay? So with the supply side too, supply has a positive relationship between quantity demanded in price. Are you okay? But with the demand, it has what? A negative relationship. But with the supply, it has what? A positive relationship. Okay. Change in supply. Change in supply is the shift of the supply curve, either to the left or right. Are you okay? So there's it. We also have our price at the vertical side, horizontal quantity. Are you okay? This is the actual supply curve. Now, say either a shift to the left or right. A shift to the left is what? Decrease in supply. Are you okay? A shift to the right, which is this side, is what? Increase in supply. That's all what change supply tries to talk about. Are you okay? Let's move on to a different part. We are moving on. With the demand side too, we have change in quantity demanded. Are you okay? Change in quantity demanded is the movement along the same demand curve. So this is the illustration. This is the price side. This is the quantity side. Right? And they are saying what? Movement. Movement. Along the same demand curve. Right? Movement. Meaning that from this side to the other side. Are you okay? So movement. So we have A. Move to which side? This side is what? B. That's what the definition is trying to talk about. Change in quantity demanded is the movement along the same demand curve. A was at this side, it moved on to a B, to this side, so it was a movement. I agree. But it was supposed to be a shift. It would have been to what? Either to the left or to the right. Do you get the difference? Change in quantity demanded is the movement along the same demand curve. So this is the illustration. We also have change in quantity supply. Change in quantity supply is the movement along the same supply curve. I agree. This price, this quantity, this is the supply curve. In the same what? Movement along the same what? Supply curve. So eventually this side was the A. Since the movement, it was to this side. Are you good? So this is B. Movement A. It moved to this side, which is what? The B. Are you okay? That's all about change in quantity supply and what? Change in quantity demanded. Are you okay? So let's move on. We also have demand function. We also have what? Supply function. So let's start with the demand function. We have Q, D, and H, but we don't say QD, QS. No. Quantity demanded of what? Commodity X. That's how we read it. Normally people say QD, QS. Now it's not like that. Quantity demanded of commodity what? X. Are you good? We have is equal to what? F into bracket PX, PY. The reason why you see this side to be M and I mean it can either be M or it can either be what? An I. Are you okay? Then A, then we have H. Okay. The Q, D, H, the Q, D, and the H that you guys normally say. The actual name is quantity demanded of good X. Are you good? The PX is price of good X. The I or N. Okay, let me separate it. No, let me use it like that. It's here. Either M or I is what? Income. Which is either what? A normal good or what? An inferior good. Are you okay? A. Advertising or advertisement. We have H. All other factors affecting demand. DY. Which is this? Price of good Y. Let's move to the supply function. We have quantity supply of what? Commodity what? X. It's equal to F into bracket PX, PY, PW, H, and TX. Earlier on, as I said, it's not what? QS, QS. Are you okay? Quantity supply of what? Commodity what? X. So there is quantity supply of good X or commodity X. PX is what? Price of good X. PY, price of good Y. H is all other factors affecting supply. TX is equal to what? Level of what? Technology. Are you good? So we are going to apply all this in calculations. Are you good? So it's very necessary and important for you to be able to what? Learn this very well, because if you move on as you are calculating, you need all this. Are you good? PX, PY, H, TX, Px, quantity demand of X, price of Y, all other factors affecting demand. You need all this. Are you good? So let's move on. Now moving on to types of demand. Are you okay? The same as forms of demand. One, we have joint demand. Joint demand is also known as what? Complementary demand. There it is. Are you okay? These are goods, accessories, or commodities that we buy together or are used together. Example, phone and chip. Are you good? When you buy a phone, you definitely need what? A chip. Therefore, it's what? A joint demand. Are you okay? You also have shoe and socks. People might argue about this particular example, shoe and socks, that it's not everyone that buys a shoe would need a socks. Are you good? But mostly, we normally wear socks with what? Shoe. Are you okay? So it's also an example of what? Joint demand. We move on to what? Composite demand. This is when products, goods or services are used for multiple purposes. Are you good? Example, corn. Corn can be used as food, animal feeds, or ethanol. Are you okay? We also have cassava. Cassava can be used as what? Starch. Can also be used as what? Food. Are you okay? So it's also an example of what? Composite what? Demand. So let's move on to point 3. We have competitive demand. Some goods are competitive when they are able to compete with other. So are able to compete with each other in the sense that they serve the same what? Purpose. Example, we have tea and coffee. Someone can prefer to take in tea. Someone can also decide to take in what? Coffee. Are you okay? We also have meat and fish. You can use meat for stew. Someone can also use fish for the stew. It's also the same. Then we have chocolim and Milo. You using chocolim and me also using Milo is the same thing. Just that they are two different names but the same purpose. Are you okay? We also have derived demand. It's the demand for a product that comes from the usage of others. Are you okay? Example, we have mobile phones and lithium batteries. Are you good? The rise in demand for mobile phones has led to a rise in demand for lithium. Are you okay? So that's basically all what we have about types of demand and forms of demand. Are you okay? I want to lay much emphasis on the price of related goods and the income. Are you okay? Price of related goods is denoted by what? The capital P and the subscript what? Y. PY. Are you okay? And the price of related goods or the PY, we have substitute. We also have what? Complement or complementary. Are you good? With a substitute, their goods are substitute goods for each other if one can be used in place of another. Are you good? Example, ideal milk and peak milk. You can either decide to use ideal milk. You can also decide to use peak milk. It's the same thing. Another example is Pepsodent and Close-Up. You can either decide to use Pepsodent or Close-Up. They are still the same thing. So mostly with substitutes. Okay. So mostly with substitute, we have positive values. Positive values. Are you okay? Positive values. So we are moving on to the complementary. Complementary goods are products or services that consumers use together. Example, kinky and fish. Are you okay? Shirts and trousers. With complementary goods too, it's mostly with the complementary goods too, mostly it gives a negative what? Figure. Are you good? Or they are mostly what? Negatives. Complementary, negative, substitute what? Positive. That's actually the difference. So wherever you are given a question to solve and you are being asked to identify whether the value of PY is a substitute or is a complement, you need to first check the value of this PY. If this PY given in the question, it's let's say positive for PY. Since it's positive and it's what? Positive for PY, we know that under related goods, price of related goods, we have what? Substitute and what? Complementary. And we are being given what? Plus 4 PY. Plus it's what? Positive. Are you good? And PY we know is what price of related good. So since there's a positive sign here attached to this PY, then meaning this commodity is what? A substitute. Are you okay? That's the same. See, if this side is negative for PY, it's negative, and it's what? PY. PY means either what? Substitute or what? Complementary. But here lies the case PY is what? Minus or negative. Are you good? And we know negative is attributed to what? Complementary. So therefore, that particular good or commodity is what? A complementary good. Are you okay? So let's move on to the income. And the income too is denoted by either a capital I or an N. Are you good? Normal goods. Under income, you have normal goods and also what? Inferior goods. Unlike the price of related goods, whereby we have substitute and what? Complementary. With income too, you have normal good and inferior good. Okay. So with the normal good, a good for which an increase in income leads to what? An increase in the demand for that good. Are you okay? Okay. With normal goods, they have a positive relationship between income and normal goods. Are you okay? So with the normal good, most need to have what? A positive figure. So let's say you have minus 8i and minus 4i. Sorry, plus 4i. Minus 8i and plus 4i. We know I stands for what? Income. Okay. First of all, you are giving the question. Check. You've identified an I. Okay. Now, with the I know it's what? An income. By the income, we have normal good and we have inferior good. So what then is that particular I standing for? So check the sign or this. Yeah, check the sign in front of the I. Is it positive or negative? But the sign here is what? It's negative. But based on income, where we have normal good and inferior good, we use negative for inferior goods. Are you okay? That's the main reason why we say inferior goods have what? A negative relationship between income and what? Inferior goods. Whereas with the normal good, it has what? A positive relationship between what? Income and what? Normal good. So when we have plus 4i, I stands for what? Income. It's either what? The income is either what? A normal good or what? An inferior good. But the sign in front is what? Positive. So based on normal good and inferior good, which of them takes what? A positive figure. It's what? A normal good. So therefore, that particular commodity or good is what? A normal good. That's all. So let me explain the inferior goods. An inferior good is a good for which an increase in income leads to what? A decrease in the demand for that good. Are you okay? So that's all about price of related goods, which is PY, and income, which is I or a capital N.